The Our Stop Pros Taught COVID, featuring Johna Burke, Global Managing Director at AMEC. Here's our host, Doug Simon.
Johna, it's great to be talking to you, and congratulations on all you're doing. Can you maybe share a bit about what AMEC is all about?
Sure, Doug. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. And so AMEC is the International Association for Measurement and Evaluation of Communication. It's a global trade association. Our members are a variety of members, anywhere from PR agencies, corporations, not-for-profits, and those who specialize in data and analysis, measurement and evaluation services, and technology providers.
Right. So how has COVID been changing business from your perspective?
From my perspective, it's changed in the sense that I'm not going to travel 180,000 miles in an airplane this year. So, it's changing. A lot of kind of my role in supporting our members is being at their events, is supporting them regionally as well as globally. So that's changed. But I've seen such an amazing transition of our members going from the traditional environment of what they know and really embracing and leading into the online environment to really being able to deliver great public relations, great communications, and great programming to their constituents and their stakeholders in the absence of some of those in live person events.
Since we like making this fun, what are some of the measurement mistakes that you're seeing organizations make that they should be cleaning up to improve on?
So a really good thing about COVID is it is the ultimate crisis, right? So people who are adept in crisis communications and crisis planning and putting their programs into place are faring much better than organizations who aren't. But those organizations who aren't using measurement and evaluation in their program every day are getting further and further behind. Because as they're looking at economic challenges, at economic crisis, they're looking now knowing that they have to make a change, they have to make a shift, and they aren't able to do it in a data-led fashion, which makes it a little bit of a risky environment for them, as opposed to organizations who do use data, who do have an established measurement and evaluation program. They can make those surgical cuts, as opposed to looking at 20% across the board. They can make smarter cuts. They can refine and develop their program as they need to in order to be more effective without losing a lot of the impact and the outcome views that they can see from their everyday work.
Yeah, and hopefully it's not just about cuts, it's also about reallocating and seeing where opportunity is. Is a big piece of this understanding for different businesses what they need to be measuring, or is this all about specifics of communications?
See, all of the above. I think it's always about what they should be measuring and that is environmental in many cases. They always have a standard of KPIs that they're looking at in understanding where they are so that they can see correlations throughout time over time. But I think there's also environmental situations that are going to rise up and bubble up certain issues. So looking at a monitoring and evaluation program, all of their data that they had 90 days ago or even 9 days ago in some cases is no longer valid for what they're trying to do to drive their business. So it really is important to be nimble and to know and understand how communications then affects those areas where their organization is stronger or weaker, where they need to shore that up, where they have great partnerships. I think through all of this, it's both an evaluation of your own organization, but who are your partners? Who is your community? Where do you lie within that ecosystem? And how is that an extension of your brand? And how are you measuring and evaluating that? And what is the impact to your stakeholders for who you collaborate with on a professional level?
Yeah, so maybe you could give an example, and forgive me, I'm trying to get you to drill down a little bit into what should organizations be measuring about their communications. Is it different? But what are some things like, hey, you may be paying attention to this, but these are the types of things that you want to know and how you can go about learning about that?
Absolutely, Doug. I think it's a combination of things for every brand, and they'll know that what their magic formula is. But I think the obvious things are, tonality, sentiment of what's going on with the coverage that they are getting. What's the tonality of the coverage that their competitors are getting? Where is their share of voice? Is their CEO being interviewed? Are people talking about their organization? Are they talking about their products, their services? or their people. And there are ways to be able to dive down into those based on what's most important to them, what's driving that stakeholder value for them. And especially during COVID, I mean, I think it can shift, it can mix. And so understanding from day to day what those top priorities are, what those issues are, what are those evolving messages that might be going on in communications in general, and how they can, work into being relevant in those stories and being a key provider of relevant information can be really something important that they can only understand if they're monitoring and measuring as they're going along.
Yeah, I'd also think that it's important to track changes when you see them. Now, you mentioned about the role of the CEO and reputation. We're seeing an increased importance that brands are playing to have their leaders get out, get interviewed on television, get out there, be transparent about what they're doing. Are you seeing some of those same trends, and are they affecting reputation?
I think absolutely. And I think what we're seeing is for those people who have an effective measurement and evaluation program, their CEO is fully aware, he or she are dialed into what those metrics are, and they are looking to that for insight so that they are smarter during those requested interviews. I think there are a lot of great examples of people talking about budget and how do we get budget. And I think if you're doing it right, you'll find that your CFO and your CEO will be your two biggest advocates, because they will come to rely on that data across the organization and understand that communications is an essential role. I mean, it's been proven out in this pandemic. No one said we're laying off communications, we're just going to shoot from the hip, right? Those were those assets that immediately, no matter what people had to do within their organization to retrench, they were all looking towards their communications experts, whether it was internally or externally, to help them pull together the appropriate message and to make sure that those nuances were reverberated throughout their community.
Yeah, well, Johna, we'll be looking for your perspective on the data from this post after it gets out there. And thanks so much for being with us. Great to talk to you.
Thank you, Doug. Always a pleasure.